Hi, and welcome to The Gist. Though productivity is something that's talked about so much, it seems like a tough nut to crack. So, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to dig into it a little more. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, it seems that our global culture has become increasingly focused on productivity. From assembly lines to office work, from teams to individual people, we seem obsessed with doing ever more in the least amount of time. But to what end? Where are we headed with all this productivity? Organizational productivity is a topic unto itself, best saved for another day. But on a personal level, we're all inundated with books, videos, and articles on ways to squeeze the most out of our day. Output, it seems, is a measure of self worth. Productivity is, of course, necessary and important, but can we reframe it to find a balance between doing and being? Here are some things to consider. Take the long view. If you want to learn from someone who lives and breathes productivity, you can follow Stephen Wolfram's writing and his talks about how he organizes his life. A prodigy who was already publishing in scientific journals in his teens, Wolfram went on to Oxford to study physics and computer science before completing his doctorate from Caltech at 20. He's also the developer and founder of the Mathematica software system, which is used by scientists and engineers worldwide. Well before COVID, Stephen started working from home and leading Wolfram Research as a globally distributed virtual company. He's taken the long view, and over time, he's refined his methods to make himself a productivity master. Over the last 40 years, Stephen has experimented with everything from his screen layout to the optimal electronic or physical filing system to a walking desk so he can work outdoors as he walks. Now, we may not want to go to these lengths, but it's helpful to examine our schedules, the way we work, and what we could do better. Sometimes we run the risk of over engineering our productivity and making too many changes all at once. Or we get so stuck analyzing the best tools and methods that we don't actually put them into practice. So, as with any new habit, it might be best to pick one thing you'll do differently and master that before tackling the next change. But most importantly, we have to think about the cumulative long term benefits of these incremental changes, like having time for leisure, creative pursuits, and connecting with other people. This ensures that our desire to be productive is rooted in something meaningful. Let process lead you to outcomes. Sometimes our view of productivity is focused on outcomes, always wanting something to show for the time we've put in. But the paradox is that when we're too outcome focused, we spend less time on establishing a plan that'll get us to that desired end. A sound process followed consistently is more likely to help us reach a specific goal. In the end, even if the goal turns out a little differently than we expected, we can still learn something along the way. The outcome-focused mentality starts early in school, with children and parents obsessing over grades. I see this with my own children, especially as grades start to matter more in high school and university. Whether or not grade-based systems are good to begin with is a separate discussion, but it's the system that most of us have to live with, at least for now. I try to help my children focus on the process, to make a schedule and study plan, to break big projects into smaller tasks, to not leave things until the last minute. I encourage them to build in enough rest, physical activity, and leisure to refresh their brains. Hopefully, they see that these good habits will lead to good grades. As adults, we're not that different. In some sense, we never really dropped the idea of the report card. Grades are just replaced by project deadlines, promotions, raises, and awards. We too could benefit from keeping our goals in line of sight, but letting good processes lead us there. So join us again next week as we look at a couple of more things to consider with the productivity paradox, like managing focus and managing short versus long term goals. On that note, wishing you a great week ahead. Be well and see you next time on The Gist.